Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Shannon, and today I'm joined by Shane O'Rourke, who is the CEO and founder of LiftUp. Shane, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. It all kind of started with a trip to Haiti when I was a junior in college. So I'm based here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Was at Bethel University in St. Paul playing basketball when I heard about a school in Haiti that needed some help. So I decided to fly out there for a month during J term and met a young 8-year-old boy kicked out of school because couldn't afford a pair of shoes. And not only was that his one chance of free education, but his only hot meal a day was coming from that school. And I thought, man, we got to get this kid a pair of shoes. And $5 later, he had a pair of shoes. He's back in school the next morning, went back to visit a few times, and he was thriving, educated, healthy, and had access to opportunities because of a $5 pair of shoes. And I just thought to myself, man, no one even knew this kid existed. He's in the mountains of Haiti in a rural village. I was like, I know there's people who want to help. We just got to build something that allows people to have access to help when they need to. And so that's kind of when I started my journey in 2018, building out a platform called Lift Up. It's a nonprofit platform that allows certified tangible projects around the globe to have the ability to jump in and say, "Hey, we're gonna help with these." So that's kind of how it all started on the global side, and now we have a local platform as well that's gonna meet micro needs in the local context.
And when you say local, you mean local here in the US or just local projects all around the world?
Yeah, so local as in the US. So that would be single mom needs a stroller because she just had twins and we can get her a double stroller. So that is something that we've been working on for the last 18 months. It's been our biggest investment. It's a whole new platform that is similar to Airbnb, but instead of looking for housing, you're looking for needs in your zip code.
Oh, that's a great concept. Cool. Well, we
Yeah.
look forward to seeing that in action.
Yeah, for sure.
So has has this type of business like nonprofit and philanthropy kind of always been in your blood, or I mean, what were you studying in college when all of a sudden this
Yeah.
spark came through?
Yeah, totally. So, my faith's always been important to me, always cared about serving people and all that stuff. And so I actually studied ministry and business. So those are kind of my two passion points on top of obviously athletics and all of that. And so I was really trying to find a way, how do I marry those two concepts together? How do I figure out a way to be successful, build business, but also have then a chunk of revenue going into a platform that could really help people in the local or global context? And so have always cared a lot about people. Ended up coming out of college and was a kids pastor for 4 years before I started Lift Up. So it was something that I've always been passionate about. Grew up in a family with a lot of kids. I got 8 siblings, and my parents really just ingrained in me kind of a heart of generosity, which was super cool, being able to help people and it's truly better to give than receive. That was something we lived out as a family and was kind of something that I was inspired by and try to live out myself.
That's really great. So, talk to us about, those first couple of years that you got this up and going. Did you start it while you were actually in college, or did you end up starting it after college? And what were those first few years like for starting up, if somebody's interested in a nonprofit business in this case?
Yeah, totally, totally. So, the first couple years, I was out of college, so I had been in the workforce for 3 years before I started it, as I was kind of mulling around all the ideas and thinking through how to build the platform. But I was pretty fresh out of school, doing a ministry job, not making a ton, when I got a quote for this idea of this platform at like $60,000. And to me at the time, that felt like you might as well have been 3 billion because I was like, that's not happening right now. So I was really just processing through, man, who could I partner with? What are angel investors I could work with? And really just digging into how I could get this thing off the ground and also building business plans and just trying to get my ducks in a row so that if anyone wanted to partner with me, there would be a plan and something buttoned up for them to invest into. So was processing through all of that when I ended up having someone at my church that had reached out and he had said he owns a creative agency out in Edina and wanted to support the concept and ended up building the logo, ended up building the brand, ended up building the platform, everything I had quoted for free. So it was a crazy, crazy just answer for figuring out how do we get this thing off the ground, really? Like how do we do that? And that was kind of the big first boost that Lift Up got. And so that ended up winning 6 months later, won an award for top nonprofit website in 2019, which was crazy. And so we had a lot of really cool things at the beginning to help get things off the ground. But at that point, it was like, okay, how do I build a board? How do I build a team? And those were obviously challenges in themselves, but thankfully I've got, I mean, a decent network and some really great people around me that were willing to jump in and help fill the gaps. Obviously, being a younger guy trying to start something that I didn't have a ton of experience in. I had my father-in-law was a pretty big business strategy guy, and he helped me kind of come up with a business plan and the one pager and kind of succinctly put things together where it made sense and understand objectives and goals and where we're trying to go. And then something that really helped early on was we implemented EOS, that traction concept of really organizing what we're trying to achieve and having clarity around that. Because I think something I personally struggled with at the beginning was something I like to do is inspire people and tell stories. And that ultimately drives community and gets people engaged and excited to help out. But I didn't turn anybody away and I didn't have a ton of clarity for what everyone was supposed to do. So I ended up building a decent sized team of volunteers without a lot of clarity for anyone to know how to help move the organization forward. So that was something that I had to learn early on was like, okay, we can't have everyone be involved. We need to really understand what's the right person, the right seat. How do we get people in those spots so that we're not just having big community meetings that we're all just telling stories and having fun, where we're really driving an organization forward and getting the things done that are going to help us hit our goals and targets. So
Yeah,
that was
so
something that,
so kind of going through that process, right? And then recognizing, yeah, I got a lot of people here, but now I've got to get them focused in the right areas and
yeah.
behind what we want to do and make sure they're in the seats where they're best suited. How long did that process take kind of going through it to get it from, well, it's kind of going this way, right, to moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was a 12-month process to probably flush everything out. We had good clarity right off the bat when we did a full like 12-hour day of EOS and really understood what we were trying to accomplish. But then there's obviously the execution of all of that. And so at that point, it became refining the team, figuring out what was there an advisory board, like where are all these people going to sit? And that was a lot of conversations and a lot of massaging, just like accountability and what people are responsible for. And so that did probably take a full 12 months before we felt like we were in a really healthy spot.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about how you guys, now you've been doing this for a little while. What are you guys doing to kind of remain innovative in the space? And or are you guys so unique in your space that,
Yeah, I mean, obviously the nonprofit space, I think there's several million nonprofits in the US. So it's you don't feel like you're completely unique, but there is three things that we consider ourselves differentiated. And obviously a platform in itself is a little bit unique from most nonprofits being boots on the ground and kind of in their cities and stuff like that. But the three main things we talk about is we give donors the choice, right? They get to come in, they get to choose what are they passionate about, and they get to come to a place where they know it's vetted, it's trusted, it's a very tangible impact. And so we can tie like number of people impacted to every project. So if there's a $5,000 water well and it's going to impact 500 people and you fund it, you know that you impacted 500 people, or if you give 1,000, you impacted 100 people. So that's something that we really love is that tangible impact and letting people choose their passion of what they want to give to. Because it could be an orphanage in Haiti, it could be a water well in Uganda, it could be right here, it could be a bed for a single mom who's about to lose custody of her 6-year-old because she can't afford a bed. So anything like that can kind of just, you really know where your money's going. So that's the main thing. The second thing we do is we actually give 100% away. So every penny in goes right back out. So we've even taken that a step further and we reimburse credit card fees. So if someone gives $10 to a project, instead of that being 983 or whatever, it's a full $10 going directly to people who need it. So that has been something that's been really cool to see is that's probably our primary differentiator, that 100% model. Is that's pretty unique. And then the third thing was we work really hard to let people see the impact. And that's something that we do through photos, videos, GPS coordinates, the exact amount of people impacted. Like I said, is that tangible impact kind of gives us that measurable amount of people. And then just hopefully having a platform that's really user friendly and engaging for people. So that's kind of the what we're working towards to to get it as differentiated as we can in the space.
So you give everything away on these projects that you fund.
Hmm.
How are you guys raising revenues, right? Because nonprofit doesn't mean you're not profitable, right?
Yep.
Because you've got a mission out there, and
Yep.
so you've got to be able to sustain it somehow financially. So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about, do you guys do fundraising? Do you sell different things, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, how do you raise your revenues?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways we do it and a few different things that we're currently building to try to make it more fiscally sustainable. Right off the bat was we just built a community of people who saw the impact and we called it the core. So our core lifters were funding a separate bank account that covered our operations. And so they knew we were going to be a core lifter, which stands for covering operational recurring expenses. They're covering the operations of the organization so that lift up can go out and make a bigger impact, exponentially increase our impact. So that was the first thing, just private donors and corporations who wanted to invest into our back end and our operations. And then we also do some work with colleges, and we do an education grant where companies can do scholarships for their employees through our organization. And then we just have like a 10% fee on that. And then we also now with Lift Up Local, we struggled to really find a revenue generation system through the global platform, but with local that we're launching now, it's significantly more sophisticated, and we're going to have a platform fee for nonprofits using it. So they're going to have access to this giant network. They're going to be able to submit as many needs as they want and use that as their crowdfunding platform essentially. And so then we'll just have a small monthly fee attached to that so that we can scale up moving forward. And then there's obviously some foundations that have pitched in as well on our operational side.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you sharing that because I've talked to a few different types of nonprofits, and some rely a lot on fundraising, have things that they sell that support, and some do
Yeah,
consulting in certain areas
yeah,
for the revenues. So cool.
totally.
So let's talk a little bit about the future.
Yeah.
So could you share with us maybe the future plans or goals that you have for Lift Up?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of it currently revolves around this Lift Up Local model that we're building out, as that's actually launching here at the end of the year. So that is something that we're really excited about. And we've been beta testing that in the Twin Cities for the last 6 months. And so we've been Boys and Girls Clubs and onboarding all these different organizations who can leverage this platform. And as that's grown and we've taken in all the feedback and refined the platform, we're now excited to start to expand that. And we want that to be in a national platform in all the big markets in the US by 2027. And so that's something that we're excited about. Being a digital platform, there's not a lot of geographical constraints. So we're able to say, hey, let's let nonprofits use this and continue to make it better. And the hope is that it kind of spreads like wildfire as nonprofits are able to bring their basic needs to the people they serve to the surface for people to easily get involved in and meet those needs for them.
Okay, so you're just kind of in the process of getting ready to launch this.
Yeah.
What does your launch feel like when you're rocking and rolling?
Yeah, it's exciting and nerve-wracking all at the same time because we're trying to figure out how do we get and for Lift Up, it's unique because we're kind of building two different audiences as far as like we're building this whole donor base that's going to help fund these needs and like an audience for this platform. While at the same time, we need to build the back end of all these nonprofits and this network of nonprofits who are basically filling the platform with needs. And you can't have one or the other, you got to have both. So right now we've focused heavy on the nonprofit side. How do we, because we got to fill the platform before we can worry about anything getting funded. So that has felt like it's been good. We've gotten a lot of nonprofits in there, a lot of needs, and that has put us in a position now to be able to launch it and let the public start to meet those needs. So we're doing videos, we have all sorts of stuff coming out. We have some launch parties planned for early next year. And so just basically how do we promote it in a way where people are excited to be a part of launch and then sustainably continue to come back and engage with the platform.
That's really cool. So, knowing that this show is kind of directed towards people that are going to be maybe thinking about starting up a business or thinking or in their first few years of business, and in this case, maybe a nonprofit business. Do you have any
Yeah.
final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with the audience today?
Yeah, I'd love to just say I think it's super important to have some perseverance in the process. I think even listening to what I've said so far, like there was there was a lot of grinding weeks and months at the beginning that took a significant amount of time. And I remember even just getting the 501(c)(3) status, and all of that took like 3, 4 months of just paperwork. And I felt like, man, are we ever even going to get to the spot where we can make an impact? And now, fast forward 6 years later, and we're about to eclipse 250,000 people impacted. And so I think the number one message I give to nonprofit leaders and people that I talk to that are just starting is keep going. Keep going, don't stop, because there is impact on the other side. We do need you. There's a reason you're passionate about something and it's in your heart because it's a need. And everyone can help different people in different ways. So I think just the ability to keep going, know that there is impact on the other side, and there will be times where it's a grind and it's tough, but it's going to be worth it, especially if you're working towards something you're passionate about.
Listen, thank you so much for your time today, Shane.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, your story is great. Your inspirational story about starting up and buying a kid a $5 pair of shoes and making an impact, right? That was life number one. And as you've said, you guys have impacted now over 250,000. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.